Like about I knew this is where it's gonna go. Okay, guys, so if you guys remember when I was sharing my story of obedience, I shared my story on TikTok, and I remember in that first video, I haven't went back to that video after a very long time, but I remember saying to myself, I've been called to obedience by Christ, and I think I've also had mentioned things like, I don't know what this means, one, and two, I remember saying, this means I need to put God before my desires. And I remember reiterating also that I was still attracted to men, but for me, my eyes are on God, and that's what's important. I really have never claimed heterosexuality. My stance about some values about the LGBTQ, I understand, have been very vocal, and I can see where the confusion comes from. I am not necessarily interested in being well, for the longest time I was not interested in being in any relationships. I wasn't thinking of whether I need to be with this person or that person. The relationship that I was yearning for more, for me, was just a relationship with Christ. I had put a lot of things that I had prioritized, including myself, back so that I can just focus on God, and that still stands. And I find that as a result, I spend less time thinking about who I need to be with. I spend less time thinking about relationships, thinking about intimacy. I just enjoyed intimacy with Christ, and just spending time reading my Bible. I'm very flawed. Even with that, I think I've always maintained that I'm still flawed. There's a lot of things. If you remember on the interview that I did with Engineer Your Life, Lungela, I said sometimes I just be hitting my blood and listening to Aries, and sometimes, so I'm still a flawed human being, but the fact that I was called in obedience and things that meant so much to me, I felt like I had put them, aside to prioritize God. It still made me feel like fulfilled in terms of my relationship with God. I don't know if that's making sense, but that's where I'm at. And a lot of people actually have been asking this question, and guys, I'm not gonna lie to you, and I think I've said this before. I'm not gonna not make it look like, oh my God, I'm gonna get married and have kids with my wife. I just spoke about God's truth, and I said what God stands for. And I say that also I felt like my sexuality and gender has been so dramatic to me that the only solace I had found was in Christ. Literally. Are you straight now? That's Lenny Peter asking if I'm straight. Guys, I think I've been honest about my journey. If I had said anywhere that I was straight, then I would know that I was capping. Because I don't think that's how God works generally. I don't think that's how life works generally. Because even for people that I know who have prioritized their relationship with God over their desires, they're still maintaining, even now, what they're still struggling with. There's no such thing as God can change your heart. Do you understand what I mean? And that's what people don't understand. God changes your heart, and a lot of people expect when you're saying you are living in obedience and you're living for Christ, they will speak about things like, oh yeah, now all of a sudden you're talking in a different accent, or you're still feminine. They will say things like that. And I think people, when it comes to God, I think people focus more on the exterior than the interior. But with God, God focuses more on your heart than your actions or how you talk or how you communicate. So I think that's one thing people need to educate themselves with, because people are more fixated on somebody's actions versus their heart. Because I think the word also speaks about this, and I think I've spoken about this, that God says, I look at a yearning heart. My heart yearns for Christ. My heart yearns for Christ. So if I am so feminine, If I am still smoking my plant, that's that's obviously a journey of sanctification where your eyes are still placed on the Lord, even if you still fall short. It's not forcing yourself to be perfect. It's not striving for perfection, but understanding that drawing nearer to God make will make things easier for you to understand where you need to be just concerning Christ. I don't know if that really makes sense. Good morning.
Hey there, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking about something that's been trending on social media. Inno Matijane recently went live here on Facebook and opened up about his spiritual journey, his faith, and how he sees himself. There's actually an old video which he did when he came out, you guys, to reveal that he has found God. Now this is a story that's layered, personal, deeply emotional, guys. So let's talk about it respectfully and really unpack what he said and what it means. So for those who might not know, Inno Matijane is a South African media personality, influencer, and of course a reality TV star. He's always been open about his identity and the challenges that he's faced, especially around sexuality, fame, and of course faith. Over the years, Inno publicly identified as gay and later said that he was transitioning, identifying himself or herself as a transgender back then. But a few months ago, he surprised many people when he announced that he has found God and decided to let go of his transition and focus on his relationship with God. You guys, now recently, went live here on Facebook and spoke openly about where he is right now in life. Now in the life, he said he is not straight. He never became straight, but he made peace with his sexuality and decided to focus on living a life that aligns with his faith. He said he has fixed his relationship with God, that he found grace, something he says that many people failed to understand. So according to him, he still identifies as gay and chose not to act on his homosexual feelings. So this comes after a lot of people have been wondering, because he told them that he is no longer gay. There was a picture of him and television presenter Aaron Meloisane, very cozy, which is currently circulating on social media. Explained that for him, this is not about denying who he is, but rather about surrendering rather his desires to God and walking in obedience, even when it's hard. And of course, social media had a lot of mixed reactions on that. Some people actually praised him for being very honest and open about his walk with God, saying it's a sign of spiritual maturity and courage. But others felt like he was being contradictory, saying that it is confusing to claim to be gay and Christian while rejecting one's own identity. Still, there are many who believe that faith is a personal journey and that inner story shows the tension many feel between who they are and what they believe in. Now, this moment also opened a bigger conversation about faith, sexuality, and what it really means to live a life of grace. You guys, now whether you agree or disagree with what he's doing takes honesty. You guys, is not easy to talk publicly about your sexuality and your relationship with God, especially when the world has already labeled you. So Inno's story might not fit into anyone's perfect box, but it does remind us that everybody's spiritual journey is personal. Sometimes faith isn't about perfection, it's about wrestling, falling and getting back up and choosing grace again, you guys, because at the end of the day, Inno's message seems to be this: he's not ashamed of being gay, but he's choosing to live for God, and that's where he finds peace, whether you support him or not. His story challenges all of us to look within, to ask ourselves what grace means and how far we're willing to go for what we believe in. So guys, what do you think about Inno Matijane's message? Do you think it's possible to live your truth and still hold firmly to your faith. Talk about it. Let's talk about it rather in the comment section. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more trending social media stories. I will definitely and surely be seeing you in the next video.